Good morning, everyone. Shavua Tov. I'm on the way over the bridge now, walking because you can't drive, to the West Palm Beach Marathon, because the Palm Beach Synagogue has 26 runners who are running for Israel today, with shirts that have an Israeli flag on the front and the words, "Bring them home," on the back. And we are raising money for underprivileged children in Israel, and we're going to be davening Shachrit along the waterway, where all the runners run by with Jewish pride as we give out water for the runners. This week's Torah portion tells the story of Joseph's brothers wanting to do away with their brother who they envy, who they despise. And first they throw him in a pit. And our rabbis say that the verse says there was no water in the pit, emphasizing that there was no water in the pit, but there were snakes and scorpions in it. But then they have a plan B. They see a group of caravan of Ishmaelites traveling, and they decide to sell them into slavery. And hence, Joseph is sent into Egypt, becomes a slave, ultimately becomes a prisoner, accused falsely of a crime he didn't commit, but ultimately rises to become viceroy of Egypt. And then Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, in his book Darash Moshe, makes an interesting observation. He says the brothers threw him in the pit with snakes and scorpions. And then they sat down to eat and drink. And then they saw the caravan and said, let's sell him as a slave. They went back to the pit to pull him out and proceeded to sell him as a slave. But Ramosha asked the question, when they pulled him out of the pit and they saw he was still alive, after spending a considerable amount of time among snakes and scorpions, why didn't they stop and realize there's a miracle taking place here? God is protecting him. How did he survive? That should have given them pause and make them realize that what they're doing is wrong and they're trying to harm a righteous person that God is protecting. But unfortunately, they didn't stop to think. And therefore, they proceeded with their plan, which ultimately led to their humiliation as they had to face their brother, the viceroy of Egypt. And I was thinking how apropos that is to our current situation. On October 7th, Hamas came against Israel to destroy us. But here we are 14 months later. And if you think about how we felt on October 7th, we were destroyed, emotionally crushed. We were completely in a state of despair as we witnessed the modern day Holocaust. But 14 months later, Israel is rising, having destroyed Hamas, having destroyed Hezbollah, having destroyed now Syria, having destroyed much of the capabilities of Iran. Israel is being victorious, and the world should stop and say, clearly God is protecting them. God is watching over the Jewish people. Clearly they are in God's favor and they have divine protection. No other army so small in the face of so many enemies on 7 fronts could be so victorious in a supernatural way that defies understanding and explanation. Surely God is protecting them. And therefore, it would be in their interest to do away with their hatred and their envy and embrace Israel and realize that they are going to be more and more humiliated if they continue on this path. And that's the lesson also for us as Jews. We should realize God is watching over us. Yes, we are rising. We are becoming more and more successful. And God willing, we'll see all our hostages home and the ultimate defeat of the ultimate empire of evil, which is already on its knees and weak and vulnerable, but ultimately will be crushed. And of course, that is Iran. The spirit of the Jewish people is strong. In Israel, there's a woman by the name of Mira Howland. She's a wife of an IDF reservist, and she's pregnant. And she wrote a post, a blog, about being pregnant while your husband is serving in the IDF. And she described how she's throwing up and she has morning sickness. And usually this is an experience you have with your husband being pregnant, but she's all alone. Well, someone reached out to her after reading her article and said, I would like to throw a baby shower for you. And she said, well, what about all the other wives of reservists? And so they put up a post looking for wives of IDF reservists who their husbands are serving on the front lines protecting the Jewish people who need a baby shower. And they got over 300 responses from women. And the organizers went volunteers, and they threw the most beautiful baby shower. Hundreds of gifts came in. They got a party planner to offer her services free of charge. People donated money and food and created a beautiful baby shower. And they had a trauma therapist on hand and a massage therapist. And they had a beautiful celebration. And you know what they called this baby shower? They named it Our Jewish Revenge. Our Jewish revenge is when in the face of evil, in the face of persecution, we rise, we become stronger. Like Joseph, we rise to greatness, realizing all of our dreams. And ultimately, our enemies realize that they came up against a nation that is eternal and indestructible. And here I am at the West Palm Beach Marathon. And as you can see, the runners are running. But it looks like an ordinary marathon. But 26 runners are showing their Jewish pride from Palm Beach Synagogue, saying, we are running for Israel. We are running for our hostages that are sitting in dark, evil tunnels, babies, elderly, and they don't have the freedom to enjoy this beautiful Florida day and to run in a marathon. But we are running for them, and we are raising money for the children of Israel. But now we will pray the morning prayers as Jews, standing proud with our talis and tefillin, and declare to the world what we have said for the last 14 months, day in, day out. Am Yisrael Chai. We have an eternal nation, and we will stand by our values and our principles. And yes, we will ultimately prevail and be successful, just like Joseph. Have a wonderful